So I'm a patient. I've had my first antenatal visit already, and it's almost time for my second antenatal visit, and my community health worker gets a rapid SMS message on the phone which says patient number ID such and such from such and such a village is due for their second antenatal visit. The community health worker will come to me and remind me that it's time for you to go back to the health center for another visit. So our patient will go back. Now I'm at a health center. Oh, sorry. Counter alter ego to explain what's happening.
Okay, so thanks, Liz. So basically what happens at that end is, as Liz mentioned, should be already for a first ANC visit to the front site. And so that information will eventually bounce straight to the shared health record. And so the shared health record will basically use that information and then generate a reminder for this next ANC visit. That's the HR will both message and send that right down through to Rapid SMS. Now, for the part that we basically goes another layer, just this over here on top of Rapid SMS to be able to receive alerts and reminders from the overall RHEA health information exchange. That initial send message will come to Rapid SMS, go through the normal processing pipeline, and it will spell an SMS which is notification to the villages if you saw your views.
Great. Now I arrive at my clinic. I show up. The clinic sees openMRS. All of the clinics in our district will be live on openMRS first. But typically they're only for acute patients, but we will now be also doing ANC visits. So when I show up, we weren't able to demo this part, but this is actually live right now. In that I would have an ID card with a barcode on it, and there's a barcode scanner which scans my ID and pulls up my actual patient information. We can't demo that, but we can show you the alternative, which is that they can come and search for me. So I now arrive at that clinic. The health worker is going to search for me and find my one visit. Which way to explain what's happening about it.
Okay, so basically there's three key workflows in terms of searching for patients. The initial one is openers would firstly try to find a patient in this local openers database. If in this case we found Liz or RHEA, the maker then they automatically reach calls to the client registry just to request if there's any new updates for this person's demographics. In the second use case, if the patient isn't found locally, openers will then make a call to the client registry requesting to see how the patient is in the registry. And if it does, then we'll hold it down to the local system. And the final use case would be patient not found in openers and doesn't exist in the client registry. So then what we would do is create the patient locally in openers, continue with the encounter, and at the end of that automatically we will send another message to create the patient in the client registry.
Great. And so because they did find me here, because I've been here for a visit already, they can look on this. And I want to point out this is extremely significant. This is the clinician doing this, not a data manager. This is point of care, clinical documentation. So they will click on view all patient details, and they're immediately taken to a maternal summary. This is not the final version. We have done some mock-ups and we're in the process of talking to users about how they like to see it displayed. But this clinical summary, as soon as I click on it, you see up at the top is my demographic information, and below is some of the information that's relevant to me. If it's on a single page, this is, like I said, the final version, but it will have my statutory history, it will have any significant tests that have been done, those sorts of things. Over to me.
Okay, so basically at the end of the registration process, what happens is openers will automatically create a message to query the shared health record for that patient and pull up any new clinical data that was found in the SLR since last time that this particular instance of openers made a request for new information for that particular patient. So once that information comes into openers, we will then facilitate the local database and that will form part of that maternal summary that's presented when the clinician opens up the openers patient dashboard. And so as soon as that maternal summary form is created every time you get a page for it.
Okay, so then the clinician is what, because this is my second antenatal visit, I'll get a physical exam and I'll enter some data about me. So the clinician will go to the form, which is the ANC physical. And again, these are just the prototypes of these forms. So the encounter details are entered already. We're going to enter my height. Careful. Sorry. 17. And my blood pressure. Whether or not I have anemia. No, I don't. And again, some of the layout of the screen might change, but these are the data elements that are collected on a single ANC visit. This maps directly to the form that they use on paper, which they will not be using once it's easy. So they will then, the clinician has gathered this information on me, they will then enter. And as you can see, it's now popped up as an additional visit that I had, and we're going to tell you about that.
Okay, so the background workflow to this will be simple. OpenMRS is phone, and it's also a message to send to the channel, solving concept. Now we show across all the different sites. This one other thing I'd like to mention at this point is that we also have an additional separate workflow to deal with, poor connectivity. And, for example, if the connection dropped at this point, we would then queue the message. So we try to send it, queue the message, queue. And at a later point, when the infected came back online, we would ship the source constantly try to pull and resend it. So we have workflows in back end, not represented here to deal with those problems.
Okay, so I've had my anti-love visits, and we'll fast forward in time a little bit. And it's now time for, I'm now in labor. I'm in my community, and my community health worker, as they're coming around, someone tells them that I'm in labor. They will do an SMS message, a rapid SMS message, which actually says this patient ID is in labor. They will get,
Okay, again, this is the reverse of the initial use case where we got lots of reminders coming from the health community exchange. In this scenario, we have the patient send an SMS. That's coming as a notification through our rapid SMS, which will send also a message and push it out to the shared health.
And so because it goes up to the shared health, the community health worker will get an SMS message back that says that this patient is at risk. I'm at risk because I've had some complication that is determined I should be delivered in the hospital. So they get a message back to say that I'm at risk and that there's an automatic notification of the ambulance and that they are to encourage me to go to the hospital directly.
Okay. And this main thing to note here is that now that we have all this information coming from different sources, that particular patient in the shared health worker, we can now apply some clinical decisions for rules to that. That matches the patient which is labor, generally providing alert, and send it on to the rapid SMS, which pushes that out to the community health to change the patient's
Okay, so that's sort of the end of the clinical scenario that we wanted to walk through, but I thought it was important to give people the broad brush idea of what it is that we're trying to do, as well as some of the technical background. And Glenn can describe to you, I guess we could also take questions and describe which components of this are fully prepared now and which ones are still being implementation.
Okay, so starting at the bottom there, the rapid SMS component is now completely developed. That's been implemented on a testing server. And so we did so far we actually get the shared out the documentation text. We were able to do some integration testing of that and do sort of deployment with it. On the openMRS side, a lot of the workflows that we described in this use case is implemented. As is mentioned, there's a lot of work going on now to finalize the maternal mappings and the clinical maternal summary. But as these come on, we will incorporate them into
Okay. have any questions? We're just so good.
Is openMRS providing the decision support or workflow engine pieces of the interoperability layer?
So, we use the quite to clarify. So basically, for the shared health record, the issue with this is back to the private industry. Those pieces are not included yet. And so to test the expected message workload, what we've done is putting in a smart service distribute get messages on the entire ecosystem. And then to be able to also, like, for example, to test posting alerts and reminders from the shared health, simulate that, what we've done is both applying the Rapid SMS that boosts those alerts and test the API.
But to just further add on to that, its intent is that those rules will live in the shared health record. Because they are
the shared health record, not a separate workflow engine.
I don't know that we've gone that far in our decision making yet, but Sean has.
To clarify the persistence of data from the workflow. I'm trying to understand the question. You're looking at workflow engines, shared health is persistence.
Right, actually I'm looking for, there's some trigger events that we're using, and sometimes the trigger event can be a particular clock, and sometimes the trigger event could be a lab result that comes in that indicates an HIV result or something like that. So looking at what are the trigger events, what is capturing those trigger events, and then where's the decision tree defined that launches the alert. So if that's all in the shared health record system, that implies that the shared health record system does more than just persistent. It's got smarts to it.
I'll take a pass at this, and then Carl and other folks from Jembi can correct me. That is, the shared health record system is not a shared health record system. The shared health record is a component of the overall architecture. The interoperability layer coordinates among different components. So I think what you're looking for is much of that workflow is engineered in the health interoperability layer. So I receive a registration message from openMRS. Who has to know what to do with that? The interoperability layer has to know, oh, I need to resolve identity, I need to mask vocabulary, I need to resolve the facility. Right? So it's in that interoperability. The shared health record per se is simply a persistence that captures and stores in response to 34.
I think what you're really asking, though, is that when it comes to alerts that happen during the clinical encounter, are those something that come from the shared health record, or do they come from the application who's received a dump of the information from the shared health record down to the application? But I don't know if that's been fully resolved at this point. That's your question, right?
Well, and even more precisely than that, we looked at the description we had previously that openMRS is a candidate as our shared health record. And openMRS can expose all kinds of decision support capabilities because either we're going to have a workflow engine in our interoperability layer, or we're going to leverage that our current candidate for a shared health record has quite mature decision support capability. And that was why I was asking the question. That's what the question is.
Yeah. So where does the decision support engine lie? Is it at the level of the shared health record, or is it the level of the application? Which is, I don't know, decided at this point.
I don't know if we made a decision on that, but I'll probably that we shared health.
It was a requirement to share that. When I'm asking them to do this in more detail to describe the more overall event and talk which is going to be mandatory or not. So whether or not that's pulled out and implemented in a different way, but that functional requirement existed, it's got to share that.
Yeah, I would say that when you look at the alerts that are currently being discussed, they are triggered by either a time or receipt of a message by the shared health. So the clinical decision support as we have it today is in the shared health record. Now that obviously long term raises the question, will the shared health record know all the things that are going to trigger clinical decisions? And the overall answer to that is probably no.
And just to address scope really briefly, is that, just to address scope quite briefly, is that the intent was only to have one or maybe two alerts, and maybe one or two reminders. So initially quite small.
And to follow up on that, the thing that's special about the shared health record is that it aggregates information across the facility. So there's a particular kind of clinical decision that is proper to, which are decisions that are triggered by information that one institution has that others don't.
I think we need to, now is time to do a deeper technical dive because there's a lot I want to say around this and I'm trying to hold back.
So we actually have an, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, just something I wanted to come to. Derek, I'm guessing you're asking because you speak from a place of experience. So our initial thinking was to have this in the shared health record. You're asking the question because you have you speak from experience and you have an understanding that it might be better suited to something in the sort of list lab or what is your opinion on that, speaking from experience?
Can we divert this conversation? We have an entire 2 hours attached to openMRS in the shared health record.
Let's not dive into that.
Yeah, I think that might be a better,
Full on.
yeah. Paul's already sitting on his hands. Yeah.
Okay, this is a discussion and a good decision.
Does anybody else have any questions? Oh, dear.
I also noted it sort of went kind of quickly by it, that because you were a high-risk delivery, that a note would be sent to the community health worker and also to the ambulance. So there's an expectation that we would have a broadcast ability and that we would do this kind of a simple message to many recipients because that's incredibly powerful and that's such good news. But it's got its challenges too.
Actually, that exists right now in Rapid SMS. They have triggers on their own Rapid SMS server, but based on specific messages they receive, they do an additional notification of the hospital, the health worker, and the ambulance.
So that means that some of the decision support is now below our interoperability layer. Yes, that's right.
As it exists right now, implemented right now in the districts, yes. But that is, yeah, so we still have to discuss that specific architecture. But any other questions? I thought you would have all been extremely impressed of our clinician ordering or clinician accurate data and messaging. I mean, there's obviously challenges, and I think Rwanda is pretty brave to go down this road because this is the holy grail of proper documentation.
We'll give the lessons learned back to Canada with this, shall we?
Okay, no other questions?
Okay, so next up we have